everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and in today's video I'm going to be making a thrift flip. So today I'm going to be recreating two tops that I found online. The first one is this Colette cream sheer ruffle trim blouse from J.ING, I think. And I really liked the clear ruffle detail around the collar and the sleeves. That's what I'm going to be doing today. And the second top I'm going to be recreating is the Ramona lace cotton blouse from Simple Retro. This is going to be a little bit of a vintage cottagecore inspired thrift flip. So what I'm going to be using to make these two tops, I actually have a bin of clothes that I actually want to transform. So basically what you're going to need is two men's dress shirts. However, the thrift stores are closed at the moment in Canada, so I can't actually go out and get any, so I'm just going to do with what I have at home. So for the first top, I'm going to be using this one. So this is a top I got from Yesstyle, and for the second blouse, I actually have some men's blouses that I have transformed in the past, but I don't really wear. So I'm gonna try and combine these two to have enough fabric. And this top also seems reversible, so you can wear just the plain white in the front, or you can switch it up and put the lace detail in the front. And to make that lace detail, I bought these ribbons from the dollar store, and I'm just going to overlay that on top of the blouse. So I'm just going to start with the first top because it seems more simple to make. And to make the little ruffles, I actually have this fabric that seems very similar to the one on the picture. This is actually a curtain that I got from the thrift store. So yeah, let's go. So because this fabric is pretty hard to work with, I'm going to iron it in at about 4 inches. And I did that all the way to the end because you'll need a lot of fabric to make the pleats. Sew it in at 1 inch with a zigzag stitch. The zigzag stitch will prevent the fabric from fraying. And cut the excess fabric off. To make the pleats, place pins at 1 inch and ½ inch intervals. Connect the pins spaced at 1 inch together, and that'll create a tiny fold. And just repeat this until you reach the end of the fabric. You will need 2 loops for the sleeves. I did that by sewing the ends together, and one that is the length of the collar. Stitch over the first zigzag stitch, like that the pleats will stay in place. I really like how they came out. They are super cute, and I love how they shine in the light. Okay, so now that the ruffles are done, I'm going to move on to the top and remove these like blue ribbons and also undo the hem. And I'm also going to take off the collar completely. So let's seam rip. Everyone who sews must know how long it takes to seam rip, so you know, just put some music or watch your favorite YouTuber and seam rip away. A little trick for seam ripping, you can cut every 3rd to 4th stitch and then just pull out the thread from the other side. It makes seam ripping a lot faster. For the collar, I also separated the 2 layers from each other because that's where we're going to place the ruffles. So it is day 2 of thrift flipping, and I finished all of these little pleats. This actually took a lot more time than I anticipated. You actually need a lot of fabric to make these because actually when you do the pleats, it reduces the size by 3. I was like pleating them until 2:30 a.m. yesterday, so I'm pretty tired, but they're all done and they look very good. I actually realized I didn't film the before of the shirt that I'm transforming. So I'm just going to show you guys how it looks like so far. So here is the top. I only put the little pleats on this side, but it already looks so cute. So let's continue with the tutorial. To attach the pleats onto the sleeve, flip the shirt inside out and place the pleat so that the zigzag stitch is aligned with the end of the sleeve. Pin it and sew it all around. Sew it at 1/2 inch, like that the previous zigzag stitches will be hidden. And then flip the shirt to its right side and fold it twice to create a 1-inch cuff. And top stitch to finish off the sleeve. Moving on to the collar, I'm going to reshape it into a Peter Pan collar. I'm using a blouse I already own as a template. If you don't own one, you can just freehand a more rounded shape. Add 1/4 inch of seam allowance and cut the new shape out. And repeat for the other side. To place the ruffles, open the collar so that the right side is facing up. And then just place the pleats all around the edge of the collar. Make sure to add lots of pins, especially at the curve, like that the pleats won't move when sewing. Fold back the collar so that the pleats are sandwiched in between the 2 layers, and then sew all around. Cut the excess fabric off and flip the collar. And just like that, you can see the ruffles peeking through. Repeat for the other side and top stitch the edge to leave a clean finish. Mark the center with a pin and insert the collar into the opening and pin it down. The last step is to top stitch the collar in place. So I'm done with the first DIY. It turned out super cute. Just watch to the end to see the final transformation. So now I'm going to move on to the second top. For the rest of the day, I'm just going to seam rip it and I'll start sewing tomorrow. For the puff sleeve top, I removed the pocket and the sleeves. And for the ruffle top, I removed the bodice. So this is how I'll be combining the 2 tops. Starting with the bodice, I remove the yoke and the collar. I'm using a shirt with a wide neckline and 3/4 sleeves as a template. Place it over the top and trace it. Cut it out and leave 1/2 inch of seam allowance. The top will be reversible, so the back should be the same as the front. So it's day 3 of thrift flipping. I actually took a couple days break just because my hands were hurting from all the pinning and seam ripping. But today, I'm going to finish the final DIY. So let's go. For the sleeve, cut off the cuff, and to make the 3/4 sleeve, the new length should be about 18 inches. Mark it and cut it out. And repeat the same thing for the second sleeve. To make the puff sleeve, I'm using the sleeve pattern I made in my vintage dress tutorial. The width should be about 9.5 inches. My sleeve was already wide enough, so all I need to do is add some fabric to make it into a rectangle shape. For the extra fabric, I will be using the back piece of the ruffle blouse. Cut the seam of the sleeve so that the sleeve can lay flat. Place it onto the fabric and trace out a triangle shape. Fold the triangle in half and cut it out with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Copy the same shape to make one for each sleeve. Place the triangle piece onto the sleeve right sides together and sew it. Place the other side of the sleeve to the triangle piece and sew it. And that will create the rectangle sleeve. Cut away the excess fabric. Using the rest of the extra fabric from earlier, cut off the bias tape that will be used to hem the edges. For the cuffs, you will need 2 strips of fabric that are 1.25 inches by 11 inches. And for the neckline, it should be 1 inch wide, and the length should be the same as the neckline. I had to sew 2 of them together to make it long enough. For the cuff bias tape, fold it in half and sew it to create a loop. Next, I'm going to be adding these ribbons to make the lace detailing. I tried many different ways of placing them, and this is the pattern I ended up going with. To place it onto the top, I just top stitched it. Make sure to use thread that is the same color as the lace trim, like that the stitching won't be visible. I also undid the bottom hem so that I can sew the lace on all the way down. Cut away all of the excess trim, and as an alternative, you can also just glue the lace trim onto the top. It will be a lot easier, but I just prefer sewing it. Place the front and back piece right sides together and sew the shoulder and side seams. To create the pleats near the shoulder, add pins that are spaced at 1.5 inches, and we're basically going to do the same thing as the first DIY. Join the first 2 pins together, but I want the pleats to be a bit slanted so that it follows the angle of the sleeve. So I pin it a bit at a diagonal. And we're only going to make 3 pleats on each side. Repeat the same thing for the other side. So connect the 2 pins together and pin it. And then sew a basting stitch to keep the ruffles in place. With the top inside out, insert the sleeve into the armhole so that they are right sides together. If the sleeve doesn't match the armhole perfectly, you can adjust the side of the pleats before sewing it. Pin it and sew the sleeve. Hem the bottom of the top with a skinny double hem. I show in almost every of my videos how to ruffle fabric, so I'm not going to explain this too much in detail. So basically, you sew a basting stitch and pull on one of the threads to gather the fabric. Ruffle it up until it's the same size as the bias tape. Place the bias tape inside the sleeve and sew the edge in at 1/4 inch. Fold the fabric up and fold it in twice to hide all of the raw edges. And then top stitch it to finish the sleeves. We're going to hem the neckline a bit differently than the sleeves. Pin the bias tape to the right side of the fabric and leave some extra fabric at the ends. Sew it in at 1/4 inch. Fold the sides in and fold it twice so that the bias tape is completely on the inside of the top. Do that for the entire neckline and sew it down. It leaves a clean and professional looking hem. And we're done with the final thrift flip. So much for watching my video. I really like how these tops turned out. I find they are so chic and cute, and I just love the little details it has all over it. If you want to see more thrift flips and other DIY videos, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!